Greetings, heathens and heretics, and welcome to probably the most surprising review I think we thought we would ever do. But we'll get to that in a minute because it's been a bit of a. It's not. I think a shocker is probably a strong word, isn't it? But certainly from my point of view, I'm very surprised at how much I enjoyed this album. Which Voice of Reason, I know you are the same, but Padre, I'm yet to hear your views. But we'll get to that in a sec. How are you both? Doing all right?
Well, I'm still reeling from this Cradle of Filth malarkey. I mean, it's almost as unexpected as Brexit. You know.
That wasn't that unexpected. Fucking hell. Well, because the first time the three of us have been on video as well. This is the first time we've done this, so
yeah. I mean, I've trimmed my beard, I've washed my face, so the viewers better appreciate that because it doesn't really happen often.
Well, hopefully you've trimmed everywhere else as well. You know, we've got to keep standards up.
You know, time and all that.
But yeah, it's Saturday afternoon. I'm on the Radio City beer as per usual. Inhale the chaos. This one. Another delightful day.
No, that didn't work. There you go.
Everything's opposite in it. No, you're below me.
So basically, you come on here, you know, someone who's in Saudi Arabia during Ramadan, and you're like, "Hey, look at my beer. What's wrong?"
Basically, yeah. But you know what? I don't think it's shipped to Saudi. But if you want to get any gifts for any family in the UK or anything, just go to rcbw.shop and they can fill their boots. So you know. Screw Saudi. Anyway,
maybe they can set it up at one of the fine drinking establishments over the bridge in Bahrain, and then we can go. The expats can go over there and fill their boots, which is what usually happens anyway. So.
Well, we'll have words. It might cost you about 60 quid a
pint.
I
was about to say, no disrespect to Radio City, but I wouldn't pay 15 quid for one of their beers.
15, you'd be looking at 30, fucking 40, 50, 60 quid out there. But anyway, let's talk Cradle of Filth. Because this album dropped in our inboxes a week or so ago, and as with every album we receive, we give everything a listen. But this one, I was like, shit, what the fuck? So shared it out with everybody else, and it's a bit of a fucking belter, isn't it? To say the least.
I don't know what to say, quite frankly. I never thought I'd be sitting here saying I really liked this album. I really bloody enjoyed this album, and it's Cradle of Filth. What the hell?
Well, when I first heard Cradle of Filth many years ago, I was quite frankly appalled. And then I listened to their cover of Hallowed Be Thy Name, and I was physically sick. And this one didn't make me sick.
That's a good start, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, so. The only gripe I've got with this album is and it's a general gripe with black metal bands or heavy metal bands. I don't like this use of Latin in the song titles. Like, just let it go. Okay, it doesn't make you look cool.
I think you need to let it go.
No, this is like it doesn't make you look like some kind of classics Don from Oxford. Okay, we don't need it. Right?
I don't think that's the intention. I really don't.
Look, Latin was the only subject I got an A in GCSE, so I appreciate it.
Look, let's get down to the albums. The album's called The Scream of the Valkyries. It's out on the 21st of March. This is their 14th studio album. They've been around now since 1991. And don't forget, you know, they played with Emperor on Emperor's first UK tour. You know, Cradle of Filth do have an awful lot of clout in the black metal scene. Yes, they've gone through ups and downs and weird goth phases, amphetamine and stuff like that, but they've always been there. They've always had big crowds. You can't really knock that. When you actually think about what they've achieved in 30 plus years, you can't knock them for it.
I mean, what they've achieved in 30 plus years is a t-shirt until now. Until now. Right? But that t-shirt, and we all know which t-shirt I'm talking about, was a genius marketing strategy. And I don't know if do you remember years ago they were on that BBC Two documentary with Danny Filth mooning out the window. Like, burning churches is one thing in Norway, but like doing dodgy t-shirt band is completely different. I always viewed them as being a bit poserish. It was just turned me off. But this album, posers wouldn't make an album this eclectic. So I think it begs the question: why were you like that originally? If you could turn out this kind of stuff, and maybe it's taken them this long to really get the ducks in a row. But it's a very good album. I like the second track. The opening track's good. Live Deliciously. The second track is probably my favorite. But then there's even the songs that I think are slightly weaker. There are moments in those songs where you've got a really good riff, or you've got a breakdown or something, and it's like there's something there for a lot of different people. So again, I think they've come up with an album that a lot of people are going to want to see played live because they want to see that particular song because it's so eclectic. It's going to appeal to different groups within metal subgenres.
See, it's interesting you say that because when we're talking about the T-shirt, which we all know what that is, that was one of the things that put me off the band because the second album came out pretty much as I was getting into metal back in 1996, and this was around the same time as certain, I think, teenagers were getting arrested for wearing that T-shirt. That was when the controversy was happening, even though they'd been around for a couple of years. And as much as I was enjoying metal and the ridiculousness of it sometimes, and stuff like Korn and Marilyn Manson, I found Cradle of Filth and that T-shirt to be trying too hard, and that put me off. Yeah. That's it. And this, admittedly, I was a bit more conservative in my younger days, but I just found it too edgy, as the kids would say, too cringe, and it put me off the band. And I have to be honest and say that I kind of never really bothered to check them out at any time after that because I still saw them as a black metal band. I didn't like black metal, and why would I sort of get back into them? And honestly, that's a bit shameful considering what they produced here and how good their material probably is.
Well, the last 2 or 3 albums have definitely seen a shift. I've gone back and sort of re-listened to what I've already sort of been relatively familiar with, and I think listening to the Screaming of the Valkyries, it's almost like this is a bit of a culmination of a shift. I mean, the press line that's going around is beckons the brave into a new era of Cradle of Filth as a bloody love letter to Cradle's longtime faithful. So that line alone feels like they are sort of making some kind of shift. Yes, all the classic Cradle of Filth elements are dotted through this album, but Danny Filth's even singing, like actually singing. And when he actually hits those screeches that he's famous for, they're quite few and far between throughout the album.
That's another thing of why back in the day I never really latched onto this band. I never liked his voice. I didn't like the screaming.
Oh, it was a bit much at times, definitely.
Yeah, and again, like the "Hallowed Be Thy Name" cover they did, he was screaming in that, and you're like, come on, you don't need to scream. It's a cover. I know you're not supposed to recreate Maiden, but just
it's probably still better than Machine Heads.
Oh yeah. Like just on a side note for Machine Head, have you seen the whiskey they've released now, the shotgun whiskey sold in a shotgun?
I had a feeling you might bring that up, but
he needs to stop. Rob, please just let it go. Okay, back to Cradle of Filth.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like I said, there are moments that are black metal. There are moments where it's quite thrash. There are moments like where you've mentioned earlier that it's quite almost like 80s glam.
It really is.
Yeah. So, and I think as well, I think it shows you that you don't going back to what they were like when they first came out, and they had to, or they felt they had to, or maybe it was the record labels pushing it onto them with the T-shirt and the ostentatiously edgy behavior, and like Voice said that just trying too hard. That only gets you so far, because most people in the metal community will smell her up and be like, "Oh, come on, this isn't real." I mean, even back in the day, a lot of us were like, "Really, the Emperor burning churches? Is that really a real thing?"
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's like, and like a lot of the escapades of like people like Ozzy in the 80s with biting the heads off bats and everything. It's like Alice Cooper as well. It's been done before, so it just shows you that if you don't need to do all of that extra stuff. You just need to focus on writing decent material. and then use that that should be your foundation rather than the other thing, because it's just superficial. And this album is not superficial, and it's refreshing. So it will. I think I'm going to have to go back and listen to some of the back catalogue now. But that's a good thing.
Yeah,
because they've been around long enough. Like you said, they've got. You always see Cradle of Filth t-shirts when you go to gigs.
Yeah,
you always, and not just that t-shirt. In fact, when I see that, I'm just like, come on, man. That's cliched, I think. Anyway, yeah, they've got a following, and they're always going to pull a crowd, and hopefully they'll pull bigger crowds. And they're a British band as well, so that's always good.
Yeah. That's exactly true. And obviously, you've got this collaboration with Ed Sheeran coming at some point later this year. So I'm I think that's going to be hilarious. But anyway,
no, that needs.
Yeah, but
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, but Ed Sheeran is a metal fan, so there is a level of credibility to that. Just because his music is turgid shite, we have to give it an opportunity. And as metal fans, we're all like, no, this is our music. Oh, you can't do this. You can't sell Motorhead t-shirts in Topshop. And then someone actually gets involved on a level like Cradle of Filth, and I think that deserves a little bit of respect.
For me, with Ed Sheeran being a metal fan, it kind of harkens back to like the kind of Spanish Inquisition or the Reconquista. So like when the Moriscos converted from Islam to Catholicism, if they were caught eating couscous, they were like suspected of still being secret Muslims. And I think that's with Ed Sheeran. Yeah. Okay. So what I reckon all this metal thing from Ed Sheeran is just poser, right? So what they need to do is when he's backstage at the Cradle of Filth, like keep an eye on him, and if he does anything that's not metal, just sacrifice him on stage. I mean, and then Cradle of Filth will forever be in my good graces.
Fair enough.
Well, I mean, certainly if we're going to bring up Ed Sheeran, and I suppose that potential for pop, we've got to recognise that they've got a lot of accessibility on this album.
Huge.
And I think my favourite track on the album in particular is Non Omnis Moria, which, let's be honest, is borderline power ballad.
Yeah, and you never thought you'd be saying that about Cradle of Filth, would you?
Exactly. I mean, it's interesting. The album's dynamic enough to keep me interested. It's not the same tempo. It's not Route One in any particular way, and it's got those ups and downs, and it knows when to throw something in, and also bring the woman vocals as well for a chorus, which sort of balances out the dynamics of their music. You got a classic Iron Maiden guitar line on "You Are My Nautilus."
That's my favourite song.
Lots of epic choruses, and I say epic. I don't want to say catchy because they're not catchy, but they've got that crescendo of accessibility that, I would never expect it from them.
I think catchy is the right word. I think there's this album is just laden with hooks. It's ridiculous. Like I say, "You Are My Nautilus." It's the longest song on the album. It's a proper old epic, but the guitar harmonies in it, it's just, this was the song that really did it. Listen through the album, this is kind of halfway through, and "You Are My Nautilus" is the one that really made me stand up and listen and pay attention, and then going back over it and listen to it again, and the rest of it all starts to make sense. It's in the middle of about 3.5 minutes in, there's a guitar breakdown that I think Metallica would have been proud of. Do you know what I mean? It's got all those classic heavy metal cliches that we all love about heavy metal.
Yeah.
Without it being contrived.
No, it gives good headbang.
It definitely gives good headbang. And it gives good. Oh my fucking God, did you hear that? It just,
And just imagine if they round this album off by burning Ed Sheeran on stage. Then they've done.
Let it go, man.
That would be like. See, that would be something original. I mean, yes, they're going to go to jail, but they'd be legends.
Let it go, man. Let it go. Another one I love is "Malignant Perfection," which has probably got the best chorus on the album. Really, really catchy. And just that line, free the demons from my soul. Again, another heavy metal cliche, but they're just doing this so fucking well. They've managed to create a really well structured, really well written heavy metal album, and it's not clinical, it's not cheesy, it falls perfectly in the middle. Production is just right for what they do. Everything about it, and what you say about the female vocals, and is they've had that before on previous albums, but it's been a little bit over the top and a bit jarring with the mix. Whereas on this, it fits. It all just goes right. It's subtle enough, doesn't overpower the song unless it's absolutely necessary.
I mean, considering their longevity at this point, how many albums they've done, their profile, the artwork, all that. I mean, they are probably one of the great British heavy metal bands at this point.
Certainly of our era, yeah. They've got to be given that respect, whether we like them or not. And bear in mind, we are doing this album review from a point of view of not being fans. So, if we were massive fans, and we'd just be doing the usual other thing. But we're not fans of Cradle of Filth, whereas this album has stopped us in our tracks and made us take notice. In the same week, Raging Speedhorn and Cradle of Filth have blown me away, and I never thought I would say that. Two bands that I've done nothing but slag off over the years. So,
I've never given Raging Speedhorn for trying to make me pay for their merch table when I knocked it over in Bristol. Having some of their merch at the Fleece there when they were supporting Biohazard, and I was just like, mate, I'm a student. What money do you think I've got? Like, I'm not paying for this. This is shit merch anyway.
I would have made you pay for it as well, to be fair. So, where do Cradle of Filth go with this album then? Because it feels like the kind of album they might play live in full.
Well, first place they're going to is Margate.
Margate.
I'm going to go and see. I can't believe that they're touring with Nervosa. They're coming to Margate. I have to, obviously, and I'm bloody well looking forward to it. I have to say, summer weekday night with a goth by the beach, but it's just, I mean, I think we saw them live back in the day at, I think, Tattoo the Planet and Ozfest, possibly.
Tattoo the Planet.
Yeah. But I'd see them live. This is the thing: is they've certainly got the songs at this point. That's clear, and I've got to dig into the back catalogue just like Padre has. The show. They must have a decent show as well. So
there'll be a production. They've had a pretty decent production for a fair few years. They've had high billing at Bloodstock and even Download and things like that. They've always got a position. But in Europe, they're fucking huge.
But that's it. If anything, they need, dare I say it, something like a Metallica support slot on a big page. Now they've got
imagine that.
Well, if now they've got the songs that can appeal potentially to that crowd, they're not too far that way and not too ridiculous that way.
Yeah. Why
not? That's what they need. They've been, they've mastered what they do at this point. It's ideal.
I'm going to we'll leave this one. I'll leave this one by asking the two of you: are we still going to be talking about this album in December?
Yes. Well,
I definitely will.
Catalog, so.
Holy Man, what about you?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, definitely.
Well, there you go. That's like the ultimate accolade for Cradle of Filth. That is.
I don't know. I mean, I think what I'd like if they can. When they go out on tour, I think there's only one place Cradle of Filth need to play, and that would be St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. If they do that, then like this album will go down in immortality. That'd be quite funny though. Like I honestly think that it's just generally speaking, bands are missing a trick not playing the Vatican. It needs to be done. I mean, that backdrop,
I think you should out of luck there, but anyway. So go check it out. Give it a listen. It's out on the 21st of March. There's a lovely sort of gold vinyl. There's black vinyl. There's all sorts of coloured vinyls from Napalm Records and all that. So, I pre-ordered it after one listen. I just had to. So
I see. There's the difference for me.
Weird times.
So you've gone and spent money on this album. If I ever go and spend money on this album, then they've well and truly made it. Okay, so I'm like, maybe
somehow,
I'll just listen.
I think you might struggle to buy it in Saudi.
Well, no, you've got to go over to again Bahrain for the. Do you remember? Like, I went over to Bahrain a few months ago. In a record shop, they had Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and there were like these red dots pasted over the cover to cover up the.
Cradle of Filth would just be a big red dot then, wouldn't it? So.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. All right, cool. Look, yeah, what a fucking shocker. We'll definitely be talking about it again later in the year. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions of it once it's out. So drop your comments below and let us know, because I'd be fascinated if you were a fan, or if you still are a fan, what you think of this album, because it might piss off a few old school Cradle fans. So be interested to see where that goes. So thanks, chaps. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. And we'll be back next week with more nonsense, probably. Stay
Thank
metal.
you. Bye.